Wait, I'm on my way. Oh, shit, I'm cracked. Live ping. Oh man, I'm down.
Dude, come on. Get over here. We do not have time. Come on.
Revive me. Quick tap.
All right, you're good.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, are you ready?
I need plates.
What?
I need plates. Dude, he cracked me just now.
You don't have extra.
You took all the loot. I need plates.
Here. Okay. I got plates.
All right.
Good. Full?
Let me get my gun out real quick. Where did you see where he was at?
No, I didn't see where he was at.
You didn't see where he was at?
No, but here's the plan. We're gonna bum rush him on 3. He can only get one of us.
What? No,
Silly
I just played it up. We're gonna rush him?
Yep.
Okay. On 3?
On 3.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
1, 2. Wait, what are you doing? Dude! I don't have an extra revive.
Hey guys, Yoshi from Triplejarmory. Today we're going to be talking about plate carriers. What is this video really for? It's for people that may not own a plate carrier yet or are looking to upgrade their current one, or maybe just want better ideas on how to run their gear. We're going to kind of go over my own setup today, and I've got a lot of stuff on here that we're going to go through, as well as talking about the plate carrier itself and its function. Talking about a plate carrier, we're not going to talk about why you would need this. Everyone's got their own reasons, but more or less this allows you to carry gear and ballistic plates. Now the way that you do that is going to be dependent on the type of plate carrier that you select. There are a lot of different plate carriers out there. Today I have my main one that I use most of the time. However, there are different setups and everyone's going to have something different means, whether you want load bearing, so something that can carry a lot of weight, or you want something a little bit minimalist that can scale down and then also scale up. There's a lot of in-betweens out there, but we're definitely going to discuss why I've chosen the one that I have and the one that I have in front of me. Talking about this particular plate carrier, this is a Faro Concepts Slickster. This is a minimalist plate carrier. Now there are a couple different ones out there, whether you want a more featured plate carrier, something that has a bigger cummerbund, something that's load rated, that can carry a lot of weight. Personally speaking, I do love my minimalist plate carriers and I like to be able to scale them up and down. What that means is I like to be able to remove things or add things easily to fit what I need it to do. Give you an example, I've got about 6 mags on here, or 5 mags, 6 mags, I can't count.
5 mags.
Plus some other assorted things here and there. I've got my plates, my push-to-talk, some extra pouches, so on and so forth. Now that's all fine and dandy. However, sometimes if I'm working a security gig or something like that, I can't wear this. This is a little bit too overt. There's too much stuff on here. So I can actually remove all this stuff and get it down to just a bare plate bag, essentially, where I have my front plate, my cummerbund, my rear plate bag, and that's it. Which allows me to run this underneath a shirt or a jacket or something like that, so it's a little bit more subtle. That way I'm not wearing a massive plate carrier. I've got magazines everywhere, wires running places and things like that, which is why I like minimalist plate carriers. It allows me to scale up or scale down. On the other end of the spectrum, in terms of like going from minimalist up, you have like more full featured plate carriers. Usually there's a lot more material. Cummerbund's not so small. You have more pouches, more molly, things all over the place. You have better padding, which is great. However, they are a little bit harder to conceal. And then you have your load bearing kit, such as like the Cryo ABS or things of that nature, that are really structurally sound. So you can add a lot of weight on there. However, again, they're very bulky and hard to conceal, but they're very comfortable. So once you start throwing a lot of weight on there, it feels really great on the body. Whereas on a minimalist plate carrier, it may not feel so great. So going forward from there, we have the plates. Now, I'm not gonna get into the plates too much. I will say I'm running Hesco plates. There are 2 types of plates out there. Well, 2 major types. You have steel and then you have like ceramic composite. I prefer ceramic plates. They're lighter and they're more comfortable, but that's just my own opinion.
That's my opinion!
Use what suits you. However, I don't recommend steel armor. The only reason why is because of spalling. Essentially, when you have a round hit the plate, that round's got to go somewhere and it'll shatter on steel. That means you have bullet fragments that kind of fragment out. The big fear is that you have, bullet fragments that may hit your arms or your neck or your hips or something like that. So I just don't want to take the risk. That's totally up to you. Going forward from there, all the stuff that I have on here. Now I have quite a bit. This plate carrier in its current state right now is the most like full featured I'll get on this thing. Anything more than that, it's too much weight, it's too bulky, and I start like losing things essentially. So more propensity for things to fall out of the plate carrier, or me just not even know it's there. The main party piece that we're going to talk about right now is going to be the front panel that I'm running. So this is a Spiritus Mark IV microfight, which is essentially a chest rig. However, you can adapt the chest rig to the plate carrier via these clips back here, which a little bit hard to see, but these brown clips right here allow me to attach essentially any sort of chest rig that uses buckles to my plate carrier. Now, this is nice for a couple of reasons. This is not permanently affixed to my plate carrier, which means it comes on and off. Essentially, all I have to do is just pull. It's just hook and loop on the back side, which is great, and then it's attached by the cummerbund and the buckles here. That allows me to have modularity of whatever system that I'm using. So whether I want to use a 2-row system or a single row system, meaning single row of magazines versus 2 rows of magazines. If I'm changing calibers and I want to go with like a PCC for the day, or if I want to go with like a 7.62, I can change all these things out relatively quickly. All I have to do is take the cummerbund off, undo these clips, pull the shingle off, and essentially put another one on. That's the front pouch that I'm using, and this is also great because I can take it off and use it as a chest rig as well. Just take it off, run the straps through, and I have a chest rig now. But talking about how I run my magazines here. So on the front, I have 3 magazines in the back, and these are just in there with elastic essentially. And then from there, I have 3 S-Tac Kydex inserts in the front. Now there's a reason for this. One thing that I found, especially with a lot of movement stuff that I do, is that having dead space is pretty important. What I mean by dead space is having space to put things in that doesn't have a designation. Now, let me give you an example. Sometimes I'm out and about and like doing some training or whatever, and I may need to pick something up. That's all fine and dandy, but if I don't want to drop my gun and put it down and use 2 hands to pick it up, I gotta use 1 hand and it's gotta go somewhere. Dump pouches are great for that, but I may not always have a belt on. So this is my dead space. Essentially, I can take just about anything, like another magazine, stick it in here, the Kydex holds open, remove it and do whatever I need to do with it, and then I can put it back. Not a massive ordeal. So far as that goes, having dead space is super important. It's keeping your hands non-occupied so you can get back to whatever you need to do as quickly as possible. And that's the point of having these Kydex inserts in here, is that it allows me to just stick things in there when I need to. Another example, like a pistol mag, I can just stick this in here. So on and so forth. I'm sure you guys get the idea, but the point is that having dead space is really, really good to have so that you can stow things quickly. If I have my phone out or something and I need to get it away quickly, I can just stick it in that pouch and then get back to whatever I'm doing. The reason why I have the Kydex ones is because when I run my cummerbund over it, this has tension, which means that as I put this plate carrier on, and if there's nothing in there, it actually just folds flat, which is really, really nice. It doesn't get in my way at all. And then all I have to do is just pull on it, stick whatever I need to in there, and let that be that. That is the front placard that I'm using. Now, if you notice the way that I run my cummerbund, I do run it over the front. There's a reason why. Technically speaking, this is less secure. So it's easier to pull off or get snagged on things. Again, in the same breath, it is easier to pull off, which means if I need to get this on and off quickly, it's very easy to do so. I don't like running the cummerbund underneath the front placard, and the reason why is just because it's more stuff to get to. While it may be more secure, I've found so far that I haven't had any issues with this coming off. Running through the woods a lot and doing other things, it's never come off on me. Now, there's also another reason. This patch isn't here just for like cool points or like cool guy points. It actually is here to cover the front clasp of the hook and loop, so that there's nothing to get snagged on. Yes, I like the patch. However, it does serve another function as to cover this piece here, because if I didn't have it there, essentially this is what it would look like on the front. So you do have a snag hazard now. This can come off. However, by me having this patch over it, kind of lays it flat, less of a snag hazard. So that's the way that I run my cummerbund in the front. There are multiple different styles, whether you have cummerbunds that go, and the cummerbund's like kind of the side piece, the straps that go around. Some go underneath the front panel. Some have different like attachment styles, like tubes or buckles or whatever it may be. I prefer the traditional hook and loop. It is noisy. I haven't had a problem with it yet. That is the front placard that I'm running, and that's kind of how I attach the cummerbund to the front. Going from there, I'm going to move down to the sides here in this area. I do run the wings on the side. These are the wingmans, I believe, and these go essentially underneath where you would normally put the cummerbund. Now, that's another reason why I run the cummerbund on the front, and I'll show you guys in a minute. But talking about these, I really like these pouches. One big thing that I was finding was that I needed a place to put my radio or my comms. While there's a lot of places you can put it, this pocket, like these pouches on the side of the cummerbund, didn't trust them. Just, you know, worried things are gonna fall out. This isn't very secure. Also, the material of this on my radio is very slippery. So I didn't trust it. At one point I had a pouch on the back side of my plate carrier, and I was finding that if I needed to get to my radio to either change channels or change frequencies, turn the volume down or anything like that, it was a pain. I had to get someone else to do it. So I didn't like that. I wanted to be able to operate it on my own. So I got these wings. Now I run my comms over here on the left side. Now this antenna is kind of annoying at times because it does push up against my my chest and my shoulder here. I've learned to get used to it. It doesn't really bug me that much, and it doesn't impede me doing anything. That's what I run on this side. Now obviously I have my push to talk that just kind of routes up here. This is for my radio, and then my headset on my helmet plugs into this, so I can have communication without having to take a radio out and talk into it. That is what I run on this side, is my radio. And on this side,
I run the spice.
we'll leave it at that. So on this side, I do have a training flashbang here for training use. Otherwise, I can throw other things in there, smoke grenades, so on and so forth. That being said, that is how I run my wings. I do run them in, facing inwards, so they sit flat on the outside, which I think is more important. The plates that I'm running in here are about 0.75 of an inch thick, which allows me the thickness of these wings to be run inwards. That way, they don't actually like poke into my body. If you look at this from the top view, it's pretty flat. They don't bother me that much. Every now and again, this kind of can because it's a round cylinder. Again, that's not what's always in that pouch. Those are the expander wings that I run. They're really handy. I like them because I run a minimalist plate carrier. It allows me to carry more stuff on here. So this is, again, on the scaled up side where I have a lot of stuff on a minimalist plate carrier. Now, moving from there, we do have the little lunch bag pouch down here, the Dangler. That's what it's called. This is nice to have because you can have a lot of auxiliary stuff, smaller things that you may not 100% need on the plate carrier, but they're nice to have. A couple things that I have in here besides Skittles. I do like to keep snacks of some sort in this pouch, though. Kind of keeps me going throughout the day. I have a Sharpie. So I have a big Sharpie because you can never not have enough, you know, ink to write on things. So got a Sharpie in here, a spork, a little tactical spork. Really fun fact about this one, this is a K-bar spork, knife manufacturer. It's nice because you do have the spork itself so you can use it to eat, and then you do have a little knife on the inside. Super handy dandy to have. From there, I have a very, very thick zip tie with some 100-mile-an-hour tape wrapped around it. If I needed a zip tie or to use any of this 100-mile-an-hour tape, could absolutely do that. One thing that I do find with 100-mile-an-hour tape that not a lot of people do is they'll tape things, but they don't give themselves an ear to be able to pull it off. So I like to give myself a little bit of material, fold it over, so that I can grab it and pull it if I need to. Zip tie 100-mile-an-hour tape. From there, I've got some rolls of electrical tape. Now, obviously this is super deformed, but this has been in my kit for years, so forgive me there. And then I have another roll of electrical tape because redundancy is key, and a smoke grenade. That's pretty much what I run in the main pouch. Oh, I also have another spork. In the front side of the pouch, I have a lighter with some Ranger bands on it. Now, this is really, really important to have. I find that not a lot of people really pay attention to this kind of stuff, but having some sort of survival, like this isn't just for tactical gear too. You can put some survival stuff in here as long as it's small and it's easy to hold. So I have the ability to make fire, and I have some tinder on here. A lot of people like Ranger bands. I love Ranger bands. You can also use bicycle inner tube works as well. So in here I've got a couple of things. So I've got 2 more Sharpies, one's silver, one's black. In case I need to write on something black, I'm not going to use black ink, so I have a silver Sharpie in here. And then I have 2 screwdrivers. One of them has a magnet on it. So these are called pocket screwdrivers. Now, these are really popular in the automotive world, but I found that they're really handy with guns as well, or any sort of tactical situation. Really handy for a lot of things, like fishing things out of places, or obviously, you know, using it as a tool. Then it does have a magnet on the back side of it, which is also really awesome to have. But I have that in a plastic bag to keep it all together so that it doesn't kind of like just rumble about in that pocket. That is 2 Sharpies, 1 black, 1 silver, and 2 handheld screwdrivers, both flathead. I've got a massive thing of batteries. So I've got CR2032, or I'm sorry, CR123As. I have 2032s in here. I have AA's, AAA's. What else do I have in here? CR2s. I've got a ton of batteries. So the one thing that I always am worried about is batteries dying. So I try to keep as many batteries on my lines of gear as possible. So I have batteries in my belt. I have 1 right now. I have batteries in my plate carrier. I have batteries in my helmet. I have batteries in my pack. I have batteries everywhere because I want to make sure that all my gear and accessories stay powered. So if my stuff ever dies, I've always got batteries with me. More often than not, these are like used for ears or like someone's optic dies or something like that. It is one thing of mine to always have batteries on me. So I've got batteries, and that's pretty much my dangler. On the bottom side of my dangler, I do have a tourniquet on here. This one is running a little bit loose, but it's just because I pulled on the tab while I was pulling the stuff out of it. But I do run a tourniquet on the bottom of my plate carrier. The nice thing about this is that it's accessible from both sides. One thing with tourniquet placement is you usually want to make sure that you have access to it from both sides. And the reason why, because if I need a tourniquet and my left hand or my left arm is hurt and I can't move it, grab it from the right side, and vice versa. If my right arm is hurt, I can grab it with my left. So you want to make sure that it's accessible from both sides, left or right. And if it's not, you have another one accessible to the other side as well. That's the dangler. Side note, again, if you guys hear any gunfire in the background, we are live on the range. We're right next to it. So you may hear some gunfire in the background. Don't sweat it. Next thing I'm going to talk about is the back side of the plate carrier. Back side of the plate carrier looks like this. So I have a magazine back here and is on my left side, which is my non-firing hand. I'm right-handed. Yes, I can reach back here. It is accessible. I can get to it. Also, another thing about having a magazine on the back side of your place is that if your teammates need to get to it, you can let them get to it without them having to come around you. That magazine more often than not is for a teammate. I still have access to it as well. It sits just about where my belt magazines would sit for my rifle, just above it. So I just grab up here, pull, and because this is elastic, all I have to do, I don't have to go any higher than this and chicken wing myself up here. Just grab up the top of it here, pull outwards, and it'll come out, and then I have my magazine. From there, I have another IFAK back here. This IFAK is hook and looped to the back of my plate carrier, and I haven't had any issues with it coming off. Another nice thing about it is it has this pull tab over here. So essentially, all I have to do is run my thumb through it, rip it off, and I have my IFAK. I can reach this with my right hand too back here. I've done it before. So it is accessible from both sides, but I just picked one side or the other. Another thing is like this patch back here is not here for like looks. Yes, it's a cool patch. Shout out to Black Canyon Systems. So far as like this patch goes, I have seen a couple of guys that have run this plate carrier. Now the Cummerbund, the way it attaches to the plate bags is via this part right here. So it does hook and loop to the back part of the plate bag, and that's how you adjust the length of the Cummerbund. So if you need a little bit looser, you'd run it out, and vice versa. The problem is I have seen people getting in and out of cars have this rip off and the Cummerbund just comes loose. I use a patch to essentially just cover that, so that way I don't have that risk. It's the same function as the patch on the front, is that yes, it's there because I like the patches and whatnot, but also it's there to serve a function. It's there to keep these things from becoming snag hazards. That is the back of the plate bag that I'm running. I do run it slick. There are some other plate carriers that you have the ability to run a back panel on. There are pros and cons to that as well. The great thing about back panels is that you can carry more stuff. However, getting to those things can be a problem. Really popular ones, the Vero Concepts banger panel, which is great because you have 3 flashbang pockets up here. Problem with that is trying to get to it by yourself, it ain't happening. You gotta have a teammate get it for you, which is fine. Also, you cannot sit flat back against the seat. So if you're working in vehicles or so on and so forth, that can become an issue. I prefer to run a slick back with this Velcroed on there because I can take that off easily by myself if I need to sit flat. And I also find that when I'm working in vehicles and stuff, this doesn't bother me that much. Having a back panel can cause you to sit upright and cause some uncomfortability, especially for long car rides, so just be aware of that. Another thing too is also wearing a backpack of some sort. If you want to wear a backpack, back panels can interfere with that, so just understand that these are all things you need to be aware of. So another thing that we'll talk about is shoulder pads. So these are super important. Keep in mind, depending on how heavy your plates are, how many magazines you're running, what type of ammunition you're running, all the accessories, so on and so forth, this thing can get pretty heavy. On minimalist plate carriers like this one, there's not a lot of padding on the straps. To be honest, there's none at all. And that can cause your traps to hurt pretty bad after a couple hours. So I do run shoulder pads usually. Now, depending on the type of shoulder pads is really totally dependent on what I'm carrying. These shoulder pads I actually robbed from an old AR-500 plate carrier that I have that I just don't use anymore.
Give me that.
What?
Give me that.
Because they're very, very thick. The newer shoulder pads that I've been seeing, they're pretty thin. They don't really offer a ton of padding, which is fine. However, I like having a lot of padding, especially for the amount of stuff that I run. My secondary kind of loadout essentially is a 300 blackout, and I primarily use subsonic ammunition. Problem with that is that subsonic ammunition is extremely heavy.
Whoa, this is heavy.
There's that word again, heavy. Why are things so heavy in the future? Is there a problem with the Earth's gravitational pull?
What? So me running 5 magazines of subsonic ammo on my kit will almost double the weight. I need something to be able to help my shoulders with adjusting to the load. So I have these super thick shoulder pads. These don't ever really come off. I could take them off if I was running a lighter load, but I'm not. I just leave these on here, and that allows me to attach my push to top as well. A lot of information, but essentially this is everything on here pretty much has its own use, and it has multiple functions as well. That's pretty much the way that I run my plate carrier almost all the time. However, I can scale it up or down depending on what I need to do. And that's a really big thing with plate carriers. They don't need to be super extravagant. They just need to do what you need them to do. Depending on what you want it for, depending on what you're trying to use it for. Do you just need a radio? Do you just need to carry 3 magazines? Maybe a chest rig might be a better option. Do you need ballistic plates? Do you need to carry ballistic plates? Then a plate carrier might be a better option. But what type is totally up to you and what you need. So don't get sucked into a whole, well, so-and-so's got a $700 plate carrier and it looks cool, so that's what I want. Only buy what you need. You may find that a minimalist plate carrier might do you better than a full-featured one. Or you may find that you need to carry a lot more stuff, so a load-bearing vest may be better. It's totally up to what you need it to do, so just go with that. That is pretty much our plate carrier review. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, please comment down below. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. It does help us a lot so far as all the things going on with social media and whatnot. We could use all the help we can get, and we do like making content for you. Other than that, we'll see you guys next time. If you guys made it this far in the video, comment down below and let us know what your favorite Skittle flavor is. Cool patch. Shout out to Black Canyon Systems. I love you. I know. Have you been on his Discord?